It's very good. Everybody knows.
Team in Logan, Utah, on the campus of Utah State University. First half highlights.
Right here, Michael Smith, getting on the outside. Nice 60-yard run. Good seal-off blocking. Get Utah State back in this game. But what does Weber State do in response to this? They drive down, do a nice middle screen to Francisco from Hope there to get into the end zone. And then they use their defense to put pressure on the young freshman quarterback with Morales and Neal. Caught in that turnover that led to a field goal. And that's what got back to get them the lead, and then they respond back with Turbin to get the score, to tie it up, to get it where we are right now. It's 17-17.
The power game, those numbers go to the Aggies, but in terms of the 2 turnovers, the 7 penalties, costly for the home team, and we have a tie ball game as we start the third quarter. Aggies will get the opportunity first into the hands of Kerwin Williams across the 20. The spacer to the 30. He could break free. Midfield. Kerwin Williams. And he's finally cut down at the 37-yard line. Again, showing the ability to break one, and he almost took it the distance.
You got to try to figure out why you're still kicking to this guy. He will take it to the house if you give him the opportunity. Just like Devin Hester. Don't kick it to him. And you're seeing right now, as he does this, he's breaking through, hitting the seams, using that top-notch speed, and that's a poor tackle right there. 41 needs to wrap up. You don't throw a shoulder in there.
Boy, they're going to back him up here, Jay. A costly penalty against the Aggies, a block in the back. So wipe out, a great return by number 25.
7 penalties in the first half. Was costly for them on a couple of drives, and I mentioned it before. Every time they had a good play, they'd end up with a penalty. What just happened again? You get a nice big long return, penalty brings it back.
8 penalties against Gary Anderson's team has to be very frustrating. Let's look at the first half numbers. Again, 210 yards on the ground for this team. They dominated in terms of those numbers, but the turnovers costly and the penalties, and they lost the time of possession battle as well.
That's huge. Weber State is keeping the game close.
First down from the 10-yard line. Hand off to Turbin. Right up the gut. Turbin has a first down as he barrels his way to the 23-yard line. You know, that's the bread and butter right there.
All first half we kind of talked about. I kept saying, you got to get this guy the ball. This is your beast. This is your monster. This is your moving truck. Get on his back, let him move you. And that's exactly what they just did on that first play.
2 years ago, 3rd in the WAC, 20th in FBS. Had 7 100-yard games. Last year, the knee injury took the red shirt. He'll get the call again. Big seam, big hole, first down carry across the 34-yard line. Nick Webb on the tackle.
Right now, I tell you what, Coach Anderson got in their ear and said, hey, it's time to run this ball. That right side of the line pulled over, created a nice big seam, 2 big runs.
Kerwin Williams into the game. Turbin will get a breather after 2 big runs. Direct snap to Williams. The speedster to the 40. Williams to the 45. And a first down up to the 48-yard line. 13 yards. And all of a sudden, the offensive line just leaning on the Wildcats right now. Aquanu on the tackle.
And this is the part that gets rough on a defense. As a former defensive back in college and the NFL, if I'm having to make tackles 10 and 12 yards downfield, that's not a good thing.
95 career starts on that front wall. The guys in the blue jerseys for the Aggies. First down at the 48. Keaton wants to put it in the air now. Now he'll tuck it, and he'll run, and he's inside the 45 and close to another first down. Chased out of bounds by Anthony Morales.
That is a smart play by Chucky. There's nothing there, so he took it and ran, but he kept using the pump fake as an option just to hold that defense just a little bit. He only had 48 yards in the first half, but when you can run the ball effectively, you shouldn't need to throw.
Now Turbin back on the field. Split back look this time with Kerwin Williams. Second down and a yard from Wildcats, 43. Just underway third quarter. Handoff, Turbin. Picks his way forward, and another good seam, and he takes it down to the 36-yard line. 7 more yards on the ground.
Right now, the interior of this line Larson, Napaloo, Assisi, they're taking it to that front four of Weber State, creating seams, and you're seeing why Turbin is making a lot of NFL scouts' mouth water, because this guy knows how to run in between the tackles and outside the tackles.
Cates coming off the field. He does here as they hand it off to Kerwin Williams, and he slips a tackle, and he's inside the 30, driving the legs forward down to the 27. I think you nailed it on the head that they have had a speech delivered in some form or fashion that we need to start playing some more physical football, running the football, and they've done that.
You played Auburn last week. Now you look at this right here. Good chip block out, following the fullback in there, using his feet, using his hands. That's a big trick. A lot of running backs don't realize, put that hand down to keep from going down, and the will to not want to stop. That's huge right there.
Smith in the backfield now with Williams. Keaton looking to throw this time and has a man wide open. It's Austin, and there's the penalty flag. David James, all he could do was try to hang on as Austin had beaten him in coverage inside the 10, and that'll be defensive pass interference.
And you saw at the end of that picture, David James hitting his chest, knowing that he messed up on that. When you bump and run as a DB, you go up there, you have to get your hands on the receiver. If you don't get your hands on the receiver, that's what happens. You get beat, and if they don't catch the touchdown, you get pass interference because you're chasing and throwing your hands up.
That is a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down.
You can see right here, it's just a simple fade route. He knows he has man-on-man coverage outside. Now, Chucky, again, we saw this earlier in the game with the corner route. He is not getting enough air underneath the ball. He has somebody open, but again, he's young. His arm will get stronger, but it's a throw he's going to have to work on.
He needed to lead him maybe a little bit more there. Here's Turbin on the direct snap now, running off left tackle Morales, the tackle, but not before he picks up another 5 yards down to the 7-yard line. They are really just creating some big space for the running backs, and nothing fancy about this drive. They're going right at him.
Well, that's what it's all about. When I remember playing with the Cardinals, we played the Washington Redskins. They ran OT left, OT right. You knew it was coming.
Riggins,
just try to stop it.
Well, back in the day with the Hogs.
Exactly.
2nd down and 4 now at the 7. Trying to take the lead here. Opening moments, second half. Keaton from the gun. Hands it off to Turbin. Straight ahead, down to the 5. And he stopped right there. He'll be a couple yards shy of the first down, setting up a 3rd down. Pete Rolfe, the senior from Salt Lake City, the defensive tackle on the stop.
Well, when you look at this situation, Turbin, when he got that ball, very patient with running it. It's almost like a stretch, and he's just waiting to see if a seam opens up and puts it in. So in this kind of situation, you stretch him out, and I still think you run right up the middle.
4 receivers. Williams in the backfield, 3rd and 2. Keaton is going to keep it on the option. Touchdown, Aggies.
That play worked because of the way they've been running the ball. They've been hitting the seams. And so when you spread them out, they get you in a 3rd and short, you bring in the extra receivers, you stretch them out, that opens up that middle section. You're going to see right there, he just waits for it, and that does the right read. He needed to keep the ball and run it in, and that's what Chucky did, got the touchdown.
2 rushing touchdowns last week at Auburn. First one here tonight against Weber State, and Thompson's extra point is no good. He misses it, and it remains a 6-point game. 11:01 to go, 3rd quarter. Utah State 23, Weber State 17. Chucky Keaton, the true freshman, running the option. Impressive opening drive as you look at the full moon here in northern Utah. The Aggies in front of Weber State 23-17. They go on a 90-yard march in 9 plays, but miss the extra point as Howder kicks it away. On the return, it's Collins. Barrington Collins makes one man miss and then goes down at the 19-yard line. Chris Harris on the tackle for Utah State. Mike Hoke, you mentioned in the first half you noticed a noticeable limp from the starting quarterback for Weber State. He is a big kid, 220-pounder, and it'd be interesting to see if that affects him here in the second half.
Well, he's walking a little better, but I think he's definitely stiffer and got that injury. If you look at how they finished, it wasn't with him keeping the ball as an option. He kept doing a lot of screens, getting it out of his hands. So,
14 out of 22 through the air, 80 yards, and The touchdown pass on the middle screen to his tight end Francisco on first down. Tries to swing it out of the backfield to Tanner Hines. Incomplete. Quinn Garner was providing the pressure that time. They have not had much success rushing the football, just 30 yards, or about 2 yards a carry in the first half.
Well, you got to think about this Utah State defense switching to the 3-4. They went to Auburn and held them to under, I believe, 80 yards rushing. So this defense is very stout, but that's how you win a championship. You got to have a defense that can stop the run, force the team to pass.
Hoke, though, played very well in the game at Wyoming in the second half, completing 13 of 15. They'll hand it off to Booker this time across the 25, and he's upended at the 26-yard line. Josh Booker led the team last year, averaging 6 yards per carry. Sets up a 3rd down and 4.
He came in there hard, but Tavares McMillan, number 16 outside linebacker, stuffed it in there, stopped that from a big gain. Now they need to shut it down. They had a good start, Utah State did, and see if they can force a 3-and out, get the offense back on the field.
3 receivers to the right for Hoke. Now looking for the play call from the sideline with the play clock under 10 now. Booker to his right in the backfield. Here comes the pressure. Delay, and that did not work. They thought the draw would cross him up. It didn't fool anybody as Lapuaho, the nose guard, shuts down Booker. Bobby Wagner in there as well.
And Bojay, and I tell you what, that was a nice defensive 3-and-out. They were ferocious on their attack. You're going to see here, basic little draw. Offensive line is not, our defense line is not fooled by it. It's that old saying, let's rush the quarterback and stop the run on the way. And that's exactly what they did on that play.
Maybe some danger zone time here for Weber State. Trailing by a touchdown. They'll kick it from their own 5-yard line with Kiala Makia. Motzen, it's a high snap. Nice catch by Kiala Makia, and he gets the kick away. And it's a beauty. He crushes it inside the 25, inside the 10, and that ball goes into the end zone. They almost down it at the 1. Booming punt off the leg of Kiala Makia, and it'll be a touchback out to the 20-yard line. Aggies, though, have momentum on. An 80-yard punt by Josh Kiala Makia from one end of the field to the other. The touchback, the Aggies will start at the 20-yard line. They have the football and the lead here. Early stages, 3rd quarter. Keaton going to run the option. Fakes it to Smith, keeps it. Chucky up the middle for a 1st down, and he moves the pile forward to the 38-yard line. He runs well. He's a great leader. Strong, still developing. Nick Webb on the tackle. But quick feet is the thing that really jumps off the page at you. That's what Robert Turbin mentioned to us when we first talked to him.
And no hesitation. I mean, when he sees it, he takes it, he understands, and he goes. And that was a nice play for the 1st down.
Pickup of 18 for the Aggies, trying to add to their 6-point lead. This time they send Tialavea, the tight end, shuffling in motion. Over the middle, Austin, and it is almost intercepted. Austin in a battle with David James for the football. It falls incomplete.
David James that gave up that play earlier, and he is fighting, and that's what you want out of your DBs. You want tenacity and fighting. Last series, when they were on the field and they scored the touchdown, 9 plays. 8 of those plays were run, I believe, and only 1 was passed, the fade that David James got called on the pass interference. So if that worked for you, I think you should go back to that again.
Empty backfield this time on 2nd and 10. Keaton steps up, fires a strike, 1st down, grabbed by Morrison to the 40. Gets to the edge and then steps out of bounds to the 32. Stanley Morrison, Robbie Diamond over there on the coverage. Morrison, a guy they expect a breakthrough year from him. 2 years ago, 33 catches, had a foot injury last year.
And that's huge on Xavier Martin right there, getting that ball. They spread that defense out. This defense is a little bit tired now. And when they start to get tired, big plays start to happen. And the offense is starting to move and starting to impose their will on Weber State right now.
Martin, the senior, with the big grab there. So 1st down at the 31-yard line. Here's a handoff to Turbin. Inside the 25. Turbin to the edge. Turbin knocked out of bounds at a touchdown. Got over the pylon for the score. And for Robert Turbin, his 4th rushing touchdown this year. He's over 100 yards for the 9th time in his career.
Well, when you talk about explosive running, this is simple. You see Napaloo pull out in front of him, has his running back Smith in front of him, and all he does is get to the edge. This is a guy that the NFL scouts, their mouth is watering. He got hurt last year, otherwise this could be a senior year. He knows how to run inside and outside of the tackles effectively.
Thompson's extra point, and it's good this time. 8:04 to go, third quarter. 30-17 Aggies, 2 statement drives, 90 yards, and then the quick hitting drive right there. And they have come out with a passion here in the third quarter.
And you said the key word, passion. In the first half, the momentum, the energy level was clearly with Weber State. They came out, they really wanted the game. They were taking it to them with their turnovers and everything else. Coach Anderson got the guys' ear at halftime, and now you're seeing Utah State coming out with the energy. And you're going to see with this run again exactly what happened. As Turbin gets the ball, Napaloo's out in front of him. So is Williams. And look at that explosion speed. Now look at the end. Look at him put that ball out. That's what they do on Sundays right there, ladies and gentlemen. They understand I got to get it to break the plane across the pylon, and that is the score.
4 plays, 80 yards after a 9-play, 90-yard drive, and they're up by 13 points. And Turbin now with 16 carries, 143 yards, and a couple touchdown runs.
Oh, nice. And our producer just touched on the point when I was talking about Emmitt Smith, but a more accurate person is Barber.
Marion Barber.
Marion Barber in Chicago right now.
Parham's going to try to return this hotter kick, comes out of the end zone with it, and he's tackled at the 18-yard line. A short return for Weber State. Bowden down there on the coverage. Well, Weber State has had some success throwing the football, have had little success running it, and you wonder here if Coach McBride goes deep into the playbook to try to open up this game a little bit.
Well, what worked for them was all the screen action, the different bubble screens and bootlegs. It's clear this Utah State defense with Coach Anderson calling the plays, they're not allowing anybody to run on them. So if you're going to do anything, it's going to have to be in the air.
Mike Hoke, the junior, on first down, and that is incomplete, intended for the tight end, Brian Jankowski. Gallagher on the coverage, 2nd and 10.
And here's where it works to your advantage, because when you can go up on a team, and we saw before, Weber State did have the time of possession, but when you can go up on a team, now you force them to be one-dimensional. And when they're one-dimensional, now you can tee off on them, and that's what Utah State's trying to do right now.
Barrington Collins, the true freshman, stays in at the running back spot on 2nd and 10. Handoff to Collins, slanting off the left side, and he picks up close to 5 yards to the 24-yard line. 3rd down and about 6. Fili Moiatu, very active at that end spot on the play.
This offense is staying true to what they need to do. They know they have to still try to run to keep the defense honest and hope that you crack one. But a lot of things, they got to hope they don't get a penalty on that. Guy got off the field. But you got to convert on 3rd down, help your defense out.
3rd and 5.
Look at Wagner. He may be coming up the hole, coming up the A-gap.
Play clock down to 3. Hope takes the snap. Over the middle, catch made for a first down grab up to the 40-yard line. Gallagher finally brings down the receiver, Xavier Johnson, and a nice slant pattern delivered right on target.
That was a big 3rd down conversion. This offense needed that. They struggled. They only went 3 and out the last series. Put the defense back on the field. Now they're going no huddle.
We'll go hurry up here and try to run it, and nothing much doing as Lapuaho, the nose guard, shut that play down. Barrington Collins, no gain. They seem to be comfortable speeding things up, much like Utah State was in the first half.
It's a momentum movement. It's when you're struggling, things aren't happening. When you go to that 2-minute no huddle type play calling, it makes everybody be more focused.
Rott split to the top of the screen, 2 receivers to the bottom on 2nd down and 10. Pressure coming, near side, catch made. It's hauled in by Johnson, and he's across the 46. Robertson there on the tackle, and it puts him in a manageable 3rd and short now as they get a good chunk of yardage right there.
Coach McBride is very excited about this kid, Johnson. 6 foot, 180 pounds freshman, true freshman. That last catch you saw, he caught it with his hands away from the body. That is what you want out of receivers. That's how you eliminate drops.
7 yards on the play, 3rd and 3 at the 47. And Hoke's going to keep it. Leaning forward, he needed to get to the midfield stripe, and I don't think he got there. A little bit short. Bobby Wagner stayed with him, and they might be in a position where they'll have to measure here.
Oh, I love this. You're supposed to scrape as an outside linebacker. Watch Wagner. He scrapes right down the line, keeps his responsibility. What he did was by scraping, he assured that that seam wouldn't be there, that they can get the yards, forcing the quarterback to go laterally. Anytime you can make an offensive player run laterally as a defensive player, you win.
That's why he is a candidate for Player of the Year on defense in the WAC. And on 4th and half a yard or less than that, Weber State lining up like they're going for it, just shy of midfield. Big play here, late 3rd quarter. Hoke takes the snap straight ahead. It's the fullback, and Tevia Tolotu gets enough for the first down on his first carry this season, a blocking back, and he moves the chains.
Like Daryl Johnson used to do for the Dallas Cowboys years ago. You get it close, just let the big boy get a little touch, just a little taste. That's all he wanted.
Coach Mack loves this kid. Tolotu understands how to knock people out of the hole. Well, he understood they needed about a foot, and they got it. First down now at the 48. Hoke has time over the middle, and he overshoots his receiver. And he had him open. It was Shaden Quijano. Would have been a big pickup for a first down.
You know, Hoke last week played very calm, cool, and collect. Tonight he seems a little bit flustered here in the second half. This Utah State defense is really giving him a lot of fits. Hasn't allowed him to set his feet in the pocket. And because of that, that's why he's missing these wide open people.
2nd and 10 now. 3 receiver look this time. The tight end Jankowski on the line of scrimmage with the single back. Here comes a blitz. Wagner coming, and there's Jankowski. He's got it, and the tight end is close to the first down at the 37-yard line. Wagner showing blitz that time, and that opened up the middle a little bit for the tight end.
Hoke did a nice job of reading that, finding the hot release, which was Jankowski, and getting it to him.
First down at the 37. The drive continues. Handoff. Collins trying to get to the outside, and he is tracked down by Alfred Bowden, the free safety senior from Glendale, Arizona, stayed right with him.
And that's what you want to do as a defense. You want all offensive people going lateral, east and west, not north and south. Because I don't care how fast you are, if you're running sideways, I can catch you.
Hoke has been impressive, though, showing a lot of moxie on this drive. Late stages, 3rd quarter. Team trailing by 13, still very much in this one. Converting on a 4th and short. Converting on a couple big 3rd down plays as well to move into Aggies territory. Pressure coming after him, and dropping him is Alexander at the 45-yard line. One of their top rushers, Jay, the linebacker from St. Louis, Missouri.
Watch on the bottom of your screen. He comes in free. They shift because they think the blitz is coming from the left. The defense does a good job of switching that blitz from the top of the screen down to the bottom of the screen. Hope didn't see that, didn't adjust it, and that's why he got hit that way.
Now it's 3rd and 18, and the pressure really on the Weber State offense here. The Aggies probably going to pin their ears back and come after him. They lay off a little bit. Hoke has time in the flat and through the hands of his intended receiver, Josh Booker. It'll be 4th down. Robertson on the coverage.
Right now, defensively, Utah State is clicking on all cylinders, but what's happened is Weber State has put a couple of things together, but they haven't been able to make it consistent like they did in the first half. They get a couple plays, and they're out. So let's see what happens here offensively. If Weber State defensively can force a 3 and out to get their offense back on the field, see if they keep them in sync.
Shalamakia has pinned him inside the 10 already once in this game. Gets this kick away from the 45, a high spinning kick, and it'll be Moats making the fair catch at the 21-yard line. Aggies have the football back and the momentum. They have dominated this third quarter, scoring the first 13 points. Chucky Keaton with National Freshman of the Week accolades last week and a tough loss at Auburn, putting up good numbers here tonight. Not as spectacular as what he did against the Tigers, but very effective through the air and on the ground. The Aggies with the football back after scoring on a couple touchdown drives in the third quarter, looking for more. Chucky to the air, completes it to Jacobs on the perimeter, and he's out of bounds, and now a flag comes in late after the first down run. They're going to tack on some yardage. Penalty against the defense.
The only thing I can think of was face mask, because he was right there next to him on the sideline, so it wasn't a late hit. But he did stop so abruptly that it could be that.
Personal foul, horse collar against number 20 of the defense. 15 yards from the end of the run, automatic first down.
David James, the junior corner, with a horse collar, so tack on 15 after the 13-yard catch.
Right, and you're going to see as he comes across that right on the back, you're not allowed to grab the runner on the backside anymore. It has to be by the waist, on the shoulder pads, but you can't grab him right down there in the middle of the back.
Very dangerous play. First down for the 49. Nice play fake by Keaton. He wants to go up top. He's got Austin in full stride. Touchdown, Utah State. 49 yards, and they are starting to break it open here in the third quarter.
And we talked about this earlier in regards to missing a couple guys that were wide open on that deep throw when he underthrew them. Chucky must have went in, watched the tape, heard what we said, because that was a perfect throw. He allowed his guy to run underneath it. You're going to see Matt Austin right here as a play action, sucks the defense in. He lets him get to a spot, puts enough air underneath it so that Matt Austin can go get it. And that's what you want to do. Let your guy go get the ball.
Thompson makes it 37-17. Questions about Chucky Keaton's arm? He may have proved some doubters wrong with that strike. Put it in a perfect spot for Matt Austin.
Right, and it isn't that his arm is weak, but there is a touch to the long throw. And you got to learn who you're throwing to when you throw the long ball. And if you've got a speedster, you really got to put it out there versus someone that may not be that fast. He's only a freshman. That will come with time, as we just saw. The flashes of brilliance.
Keaton to Austin. Here it is.
See, he just puts it underneath just enough so that Austin does not have to break stride. The great quarterbacks learn how to do that early so that they can do it often.
Well, and, the better he gets at throwing that ball, the more it's going to open up the rushing game. Not that they've needed that necessarily tonight, 334 yards on the ground, but they'd like to be more balanced when they get into the middle of the conference season against some of these teams like Hawaii.
And this is how you want to do it. You run the ball well so that when you do play action, your guy is wide open, because they're so worried about you running the ball, they have to put 8 men in the box. So that means the corners are going to be one-on-one. And if your corners aren't any good, or if they can't handle the one-on-one coverage, that's what's going to happen. Touchdown.
Chris Parham awaiting the kick from Jacob Hodder. 37-17, 20 unanswered here in the third quarter for the Aggies. Parham takes it on the line drive at the 3-yard line. Gets by one man and goes down in a pile. Ball comes free at the 25. And the Aggies say they have it, and they do. No official indications yet. The Aggies say they have it at the 23. They do have it. And it is all come unraveled here for Weber State in the third quarter.
Right now, all the momentum, all the intensity is on the Utah State side of the field right now. Weber State is coming out flat, and they're not matching it, and they're getting outscored. You see, as he dances around a little bit here, he gets hit at that last second. Ball comes flying out. It's hard to tell if his knee was down, but the officials on the field are saying that it wasn't, and that ball came out. You got to tuck it away. You cannot dance around on a kickoff return.
And Josh Flores looked like the guy that jumped on the loose football, the senior from Logan. And now the Aggies are going to huddle on the sideline. I think they're going to review whether this was a fumble. Well, big play in the game. I mean, this really puts Weber State in a tough spot if this is a turnover here.
It really does, because you've just given up 3 scores. And as we watch this, He gets wrapped up. That ball's out before he comes down from that view to me. It wasn't like his legs were wrapped up. So because they were wrapped up, I don't think his knee was down. Doesn't look like his butt was down. So Weber State has to find a way. They have to find a way to stop Utah State right here. Get your offense back on the field, see what they can do.
Now the ruling on the field, a fumble recovered by the Aggies.
After further review, the call on the field stands. The ball was fumbled, recovered by Utah State. First down.
All right, that's a tough one. You're down 20. It's all come apart here for Coach McBride, and this game getting away from him here. And they have a chance to put some more points on the board.
It's definitely gotten away from him. Intensity level wasn't matched at the start. Your defense gives up 3 straight scores every time Utah State's got on the field. Now the defense is back out there with a short field. So it's really huge. They got to try to get a stop here.
From the 24-yard line, empty backfield for Keaton. Looking to throw. Fires over the middle. Through the hands of Austin and incomplete. Tried to thread the needle there, and he put some mustard on that one. 2nd and 10.
I quite don't understand the play call right now. Personally, you're sitting in a good position. Work on your running game. He's trying to squeeze that ball in there. That was just a catch that the receiver should have made. Matt Austin should have pulled that in. Caught it with his hands and pulled it in. He didn't do that. He allowed it to get close to his body, and the DB was able to knock it out.
And Wildcat shaking up Marvin Walker, the senior from Chino, California, in the back of the end zone. Shaken up on that last play. Well, the point you made, the passion they came out with at the start of the second half, they look like the type of team that we saw on film in that game against Auburn last week. They really came out with a purpose, an intensity, and the Wildcats haven't been able to match that.
Well, and you're right, and that's the big point is don't matter who you're playing, Auburn or Weber State, your energy level has to be the same. And when you don't do that, you allow teams to get covered. But let's look at this injury right here. As the ball's thrown in there, it's a mess.
Marvin Walker.
It looks like as he went down, his left knee got caught underneath him. He's walking on his own will, which is good.
Good sign. Locked up maybe there for a little bit?
Well, sometimes when you go for a position and your knee gets caught on behind or underneath you and all your weight pushes on it, it kind of strains those ligament and tendons. Knock on wood, hopefully nothing got hurt. But that's what it looked like.
2nd and 10 now for the Aggies. Again, they'll go with that odd look, the 5-receiver look in an empty backfield for Keaton, though you could look at him as like another running back with his ability with his feet. He's hit, and the ball comes free, and it's loose at the 25-yard line. Cosgrove, the guy that knocked the ball free, and I think the Aggies got it back at the 25, loss of a yard.
Now, Trey, I just mentioned to you before, when they just did the pass play before, that play didn't make sense to me. This play didn't make sense to me. You have a 20-point lead. You have racked up 300-some-odd yards rushing the ball. Continue to run the ball.
Well, Tyler Larson, the center, jumped on that. Yeah, Turbin, I think, is what you're talking about. And they have gone back to that traditional look, though. The other side, they're learning a lot about Keaton and his passing ability. That might come into the thinking here. They'll hand it off to Turbin this time on 3rd down, and he'll run out of bounds close to the 20-yard line, short of the first down, and they are in field goal range with a 4th down coming up.
Right, and I understand you want to get some throws for your freshman quarterback, continue to help his maturation process, but I think that becomes more effective when you continue to run, because if you keep running, that's going to bring 8 men in the box, and that's going to allow him to do those things where he can audible to a pass play or something like that.
Here's Josh Thompson. He's already connected from 41 yards. This will be a 39-yard attempt. Trying to add to the lead. Kick on the way. Didn't get much of it, but got just enough to get it across the crossbar. And Utah State extends their lead to 40-17.
Wow, that was like kicking a limp banana or something right there. I didn't know this. I was looking to see if somebody tipped it. Didn't look like nobody tipped it.
Looks good on the score sheet.
That had no oomph whatsoever.
Well, Thompson is a perfect 3 for 3 now. 34-yarder against Auburn, 41-yarder, and then that one there from 39, and it's 40-17 Aggies. What a dominating third quarter. 23 points from the home team.
Well, that's what you have to do when you are playing a team that you feel you should be hands down, and then you allow them to hang out in the first half. You go in tied 17-17 where they had time of possession on you. You may have had more yards, but they were definitely controlling the clock in the game. You definitely better make sure you come out with some fire and tenacity in that second half, because you showed the world when you went against Auburn what you were made of. You don't want to follow that up with something flat like this, like we witnessed last year when they beat BYU and then took on Louisiana Tech and failed to show up.
Well, it's part of building a program, and Gary Anderson has some pieces in place, I think, this year that could make this team really special. I think Chucky Keaton is the guy that really may take them to the next level. We'll see. Under a minute to go, third quarter. Howder's kick bobbled in the end zone and downed right there by Collins, and the Wildcats will have it at the 20-yard line. You know, we talked to Robert Turbin this week leading up to this game about Chucky Keaton, and he so impressed with his leadership skills, and he kind of took him under his wing as his big brother. And it sure helps when you have a guy that's already an established product in college football, you know, telling a freshman, you need to do this, don't do that as you get started.
And that's great, because when you look at, as a young kid, you need somebody to mentor you. You need to understand how it works, and that's exactly what this program is doing right now with the young talent they have.
Here's Booker on the carry, running to the left. He gets a couple yards out to the 22-yard line, and that's it. They have had little, if anything, in the run game, just 35 yards rushing on 24 carries. Lawson on that tackle. And Turbin, a guy that, what a great kid. I mean, he seems to have a great head on his shoulders, says the right things, is a true leader. They look up to him as a junior.
Well, I like the fact that he's a three-down back. Now, they haven't used him a whole lot tonight, but he's a three-down back. He never has to come off the field. Great size, great speed, great vision, and that's the kind of back that you want in your program.
146 yards on the ground for Turbin tonight. Here's pressure now on Hoke, and he's sacked back at the 13-yard line. Jason Fanico is in there. He got some help from his friends, but this is a big story because they think Fanico can be an impact player as an edge rusher, a defensive end linebacker that hasn't practiced a lot because he thought he was going to go on a mission, but he'll work into the rotation.
He treated Caleb Turner like a wicked stepchild, the way that he ran right over him and got that sack. That was unbelievable. What you're going to see right here just blows him up. Get out my way, son. I got somebody to tackle, and that's exactly what he did to end this third quarter.
Robert Turbin, only a junior at Utah State, but he is piling up some big numbers tonight and throughout his career, and now has reached another milestone, over 2,000 rushing yards, 8th Aggie to do it. Still has this year and likely a full year next year. Could be the WAC player of the year. You consider the numbers he's put up in this game. Had a good effort against Auburn. If Utah State keeps winning, he'll be in the conversation. Hoke on first down and completes a pass to Shuford, who's hit right away by Walter McClent, the free safety after an 8-yard pickup to the 28-yard line.
That was a ferocious hit. Walter came up and said, "You're not going any further than here." Nice throw by Hoke to get the ball there, but that was just a better defensive play of stopping that where it started.
So fourth down and the punt team out there. Kialamakia has been busy, and they'll have to give the football back to Utah State. Just underway fourth quarter. This game tied at halftime at 17. 23 unanswered from Utah State as you look at Kerwin Williams. Kialamakia with a booming kick. He's already hit an 80-yarder. This one inside the 20. And that rolls inside the 5. And they're going to let it roll all the way inside the 1-yard line. This guy is quite a weapon as a punter for Weber State. That's one of the bright spots for the visitors from Ogden, Utah, is their punt team. But they trail 40-17. Welcome back to Logan, Merlin Olsen Field, Romney Stadium. All Utah State dominating the third quarter, up by 23 here against their in-state rivals Weber State. Gary Anderson saying that last week's loss to Auburn, a hard defeat, as difficult a loss as he's ever been around. This will kind of salve the wounds a little bit. Getting back, they were really anxious to get back on the football field, and it put one in the win column.
I agree, and it definitely will make a difference, especially the second half. I don't think he was happy with the first half at all.
Hand off to Turbin. Look out. Breaks free out of the end zone to the 20. Turbin down the sidelines. And he adds to his total out to the 35-yard line. Aquanu tackles him near the sidelines, and he is over 170 yards now on the ground.
This guy is the real deal.
180 now on the ground.
Look at this. You're seeing the left guard pull over, kick out, and he just waits for the hole to develop. I always tell people running backs have to be like chefs. You have to allow the play to simmer a little bit before you break. And you can see right there, and even other runs, he allows the play to develop, and then he makes his explosive
Let the
move.
cooking sauce work for you. The offensive line, I guess you could say. And here's an end around, fake, and a keeper by Kerwin Williams. And look out, 40. And Williams bumped out of bounds at the 30 by David James. Like Batman and Robin, you throw Turbin at him, and then the speed of Williams, that's a dangerous 1-2 punch.
And here's the kicker to it for me. Both of these guys can run inside and outside. So as you can see right here, it's just a basically fake, made everybody think it was going to be a double reverse, and it wasn't. Defense didn't know what was going on, and now you have somebody with speed, good lanes by the deep guys for Weber State to make sure it doesn't turn into a touchdown.
Over 400 yards rushing for the Aggies as a team. Now Keaton to the air for Jacobs. He's got it. Touchdown, Utah State. 29 yards and 46 points on the board.
True freshman David Hughes kind of upset a little bit, but there's not much he could have did on that throw. Chucky did a very good job of throwing it backside so that the DB wasn't sure where the ball was, and that allowed Chuck Jacobs to get it. You're going to see right here as the play rolls, corner's in decent position, but Chucky throws it behind, a backside fade. It allows his receiver, Chuck Jacobs, to get that ball. This offense now is clicking where they struggled in the first half. They're not struggling anymore.
Chucky to Chuck, 29 yards. Chuck Jacobs' first touchdown catch as a player at the Division I level, junior college product for 2 years, and 47-17. And you're just getting a taste of how good this team could be. You know Chucky's going to get better because of his work ethic and his film study, and they were ranting and raving about those kind of things, his preparation. He's just getting his feet wet as a college football player.
Sure is. And I understand, again, with some of these throws, with that great throw, you got to get the ball out, allow him to learn just a little bit more. This Weber State team is, you're seeing the advantage of how deep Utah State is. When you go and battle at Auburn and you come back, you start to weigh and impose your will on a team that you know that you should beat. And I think with Chucky and Turbin and Williams, and we can go on and on and on about how effective they've been in the second half. And knowing Coach Anderson, he's going to focus on the first half of the things they needed to fix so they didn't get in that position.
You know, they have Wyoming in a few weeks. The Aggies do. Wyoming's probably not too anxious to see Utah State after running into Weber State last week. Here's the kickoff into the end zone. Barrington Collins trying to reverse his field. 25, keeps his feet churning across the 30 and finally goes down at the 32. Talented freshman for Weber State. Keaton showing his athletic ability here at the outset.
This is low snap, was able to pick it up, and look how he just puts the ball up in the air behind. Backwards throw. Those are the hardest ones to defend as a defensive back because you're not sure if the ball's ahead or behind. So there's not much that he can do in that kind of situation.
10 of 15 through the air for Keaton, 166 yards and a couple touchdowns. And they have broke this one open in the second half. Broken it open big style with 30 consecutive points. Little shovel into the hands of Parham, and he's cut down after a yard gain. Jason Fanica with another play. Well, Tavares McMillan over there as well. There's a look at Parham. They like to rotate guys. Booker, Hines, Parham. And Booker and Parham are both from Oklahoma City. So Ron McBride has made it a point to go into the Midwest in the heart of Big 12 country and get some kids, and they've been productive for him.
Hey, these FCS schools are very competitive. Sometimes it doesn't work out that way for them, but they had Wyoming on the ropes, should have beat them. I covered Richmond-Duke last week. Richmond beat Duke. They can get it done. They get top talent.
Hoke underneath to Parham. Short gain. Gallagher on the tackle that time. Pickup of 7. It'll be a 3rd down and short. Again, a reminder, this Weber State team led Wyoming until the very end, gave up a touchdown pass to the Cowboys with 22 seconds remaining, and then had a chance to tie it but missed a 53-yard field goal in Laramie. But different story here against Utah State.
Right, and they're struggling a bit. I would like to see them just put a series together to where you can put points on the board, even if it's a field goal. You need to find a way to stop the bleeding. You played so well in the first half. You need to find that momentum somehow in the second half here.
3rd and 2. Hoke, slant through the hands of Johnson, and incomplete. Robertson on the coverage. We talked about the Aggies' rushing attack and how dominant they've been, 406 rushing yards. How about this? This is before my time, believe it or not. 406 yards rushing tonight, the first 400-yard rushing outing for Utah State since they faced Hawaii in 1966 and rolled up 428 on the ground. So it's going back a few years to find a team that was that good on the ground.
And they should keep going because it's one of those things. I always tell people, sports is like the Sunday paper. If you don't cancel it, it'll keep coming. So if they don't figure out how to stop the run attack of Utah State right now, it's going to keep coming. And that's what they need to do.
Here's Kerwin Williams on the punt return, and he takes it out close to the 30-yard line with 10:55 to go. All Utah State looking to even their record at 1-1 on the season, and right now beating up on their in-state rival. 47-17, Utah State well on their way to their first victory this college football season. 10:55 to go in this one, and Adam Kennedy is going to see some work at quarterback in for Chucky Keaton, who had a huge night. Kennedy, the junior from Elk Grove, California, will throw on first down, and he completes it for a short gain into the hands of Joe Hill, a redshirt freshman running back from Fullerton, California. You know, this is the first time that Gary Anderson and Ron McBride have faced each other as head coaches. Of course, the long connection at Utah where Gary Anderson was a starting center when Mac was an assistant at Utah and then as an assistant coach under Ron McBride. Another carry for Hill, short gain to the 35-yard line. But in talking to both of them, Jay, it's amazing how close they are. And Gary Anderson says if it weren't for Ron McBride, I wouldn't be in coaching today. I didn't know what I'd do when my playing career ended. He said he pushed him into coaching. He says he supported him along the way. The families have been tight. And it's really amazing to see the respect from one coach to the other.
It definitely is, especially when you're a former player and you have a coach that takes that kind of interest in you and wants to take you under your wing, you're internally grateful. And you can tell by the way that they've kept their relationship going and how they keep talking about what's good, what's not good, how they should do.
How they mold kids,
yeah, exactly.
Those things. Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, it's huge. And I think people don't understand the impact that coaches do have on people's lives and how they want to continue to pass it on. And when you look at McBride, I mean, he's 72 years old. And he's still out here doing the thing he loves to do. Where most people will be having a pina colada down in the Bahamas hanging out.
He says as long as you got a passion for what you do, why not do it? That's what he says.
That's what you do. So, you know, and Anderson just wants to be like his mentor, you know.
Well, and they do a lot of things a lot of the same way. A lot of respect on both sides as Hill did not pick up the first down that last run. And the punt out of bounds at the 11-yard line, and that's where the Wildcats will have it. There's a look at Coach McBride, who is the 6th oldest active head coach in Division football. Success everywhere he's been, 6 bowl games at Utah. Really got Utah back on the map as a program because they played second fiddle to BYU for a long time, and they need to push credit his way in terms of Utah being where they are today. I mean, they started beating BYU and going to bowl games consistently. This guy got that started.
Most definitely. I mean, he was so dominant when he got to Utah that, like a lot like when I was at San Jose State, he's a former alum there. Schools get to the point they don't want to play you. And you cannot knock, and he got inducted into the Utah Hall of Fame for coaching and everything else because of that. I mean, this guy stepped in and made Utah relevant when Utah was not relevant.
And then carrying it on over to Weber State in 2008, 10 wins, most at the school in 10 years. They won the Big Sky Championship, went to the FCS playoffs, and he's still doing it at a very high level. 2nd down and 7 now for the Wildcats. And you mentioned earlier just trying to gain a little confidence here. This is where you build for the coming weeks.
And a perfect example is the play calling. As the offensive coordinator, Matt Hammer, he has to call plays that shows that he still has confidence in his guys. They need to put together a series to try and score, if a field goal or a touchdown. Again, because you came in so hot in the first half. You did just about everything you wanted to do.
Yep.
Second half, they shut you down. So you don't want to end the game with that in your mouth. I don't care if they have their second string back there. You want to finish doing something positive.
Barrington Collins, the true freshman on that last catch. 3rd and 4 at the 18 for the Wildcats. Collins gets the handoff. He's hitting the backfield. Gets a couple yards forward to the 20, and that's it. Lapuaho has played a great game at nose guard. The junior shut that down, the big 300-pounder.
That's the exact kind of play I'm talking about that you don't want to call, because that doesn't give you guys a chance for success right there. You were calling the screens and everything, the bootlegs in the first half that worked. I haven't seen any of that in the second half. Go back to it.
And I think probably a little bit shell-shocked with the way Gary Anderson's team came out. The 90-yard drive, the 80-yard drive, and they just made a statement early, and I think it probably stunned Weber State. I think they realized what kind of team they're up against. And that was almost blocked off the foot of Kiala Makia, fielded by Moats, and he takes it up to the 43-yard line. So with 6:55 to go, we'll take a break. Logan, Utah, the site, and it's been a big night for the Aggies. Beautiful look at Logan, Utah. Picture-perfect night for college football, 6:55 to go. And the Aggies in front by 30 points, dominating the second half. It was tied at 17 at halftime. Adam Kennedy staying in at the quarterback position, and he hands it off to Robert Marshall, sophomore running back from Dallas, Texas. Takes it up to the 49-yard line for 5 yards. How good can the Aggies be? I mean, they've got Colorado State here next week for homecoming. They're at BYU and Wyoming before they get into WAC play. Their goal is to win the WAC championship.
Listen, these linebackers and this front seven, with this 3-4, the way that they've been playing, the way that they've shut down the run, they can go a very long way. It speaks volumes when you go into Auburn on the road and you shut them down with the running game. Then you come in, you got an FCS school that's known for running. You shut them down. When you're a team that can shut the run down and limit a team to only passing, that's a strong advantage.
And on the other side, when you can run the ball well, that helps the quarterback, who is a true freshman, to open up his game. 29 carries, 33 yards for Weber State tonight. 41 carries, 425 on the ground for the Aggies. And they ran it with Marshall on that last carry for a first down, and they go on the ground again for short yardage. Here's a look at Robert Turbin. How about this for a night? 18 carries, 180 yards, and a couple touchdowns.
And they need to keep feeding him the pill. I think he can break the school record of 4,000 rushing yards, but they got to get him the ball more. And, Trey, you hit the nail on the head. I don't care if you're a freshman quarterback or an all-pro quarterback. If you run the ball, that's a quarterback's best friend, because that opens up the playbook like no other. And I think they have a recipe right now that's going to lead to a lot of success.
And off to Hill again, and he gets short yardage up to the 42-yard line, set up a 3rd down and 9 from there. And the big difference, not just Chucky Keaton this year, but Turbin had a knee injury last year, missed the season. Michael Smith, a guy that ran for 91 yards in this game. Missed most of last season with a foot injury. Stanley Morrison, their receiver, foot injury last year. Matt Austin had a knee injury. All those guys are back, and they're key pieces on offense this year. Kennedy to the air, and it's caught by Travis Van Leeuwen, the sophomore from Provo, and he has a first down to the 18-yard line.
Another back shorter throw that's very hard for a defensive back to defend. And when you throw the ball back shoulder, it allows the receiver to see the ball and make the play on it. And the DB doesn't. If he doesn't turn his head, he'll never know it was there.
Kennedy from San Joaquin Delta Junior College, 2 years there. Was in a battle with Keaton for the starting spot. Capable backup as they hand it off to Marshall for a yard to the 16.
Now, I'm curious here a little bit. I've watched the past 3 plays. They've been snapping the ball with like 15 seconds left on the play clock. At this point, you would think you would teach ball control, especially after last week. Like, when we get towards the end of the game, let's start to milk the clock and get as much time off as we can.
Well, and it might be a case, too, where it's a chance to give Kennedy some reps in the style that they like. They want to get him into the rhythm that Chucky Keaton is used to in terms of quick snapping the football. Here's a handoff to Marshall, a couple yards down to the 14.
That's true, and I can clearly see that that's probably why they're doing it the way that they're doing it. But at the same token, I still think this is the point in time of the game where you can practice your eye sets. Line up, hat on hat, let these guys continue to work. The Hogs, that's how they get happy. Reward them by doing that.
I think they've been rewarded many times over here tonight. And every time they see a blue jersey run into the end zone. And now, on third down, a timeout is called.
Timeout called by Utah State.
And I understand, coaches.
This is a 30-second timeout. Utah State has 2 timeouts remaining.
And in these kind of situations, yeah, there's some things you would like to work and see, and I understand that, and that's fine, and fine and dandy to do that. But I still go back to when you have issues, some of the things that they had last week, the way that they started the game this week. I would take this time to work on some of that stuff. I wouldn't stick with the passing and doing things.
Well,
I'd go to something a little different.
Well, I think in the bigger picture for Utah State, the fact that they're trying to turn the corners of program. They had the big win against BYU last year. They played Auburn tough. They played Oklahoma tough. They played Texas A&M tough. They needed a big performance here tonight, and they get it. And they, I think, still gained some momentum from that first game and realizing how good they were. And here's the carry by Hill, and Hill is into the end zone for the touchdown. Joe Hill, redshirt freshman from Fullerton, finds the end zone, and it's 53-17.
And there's just basically a sweep. You're going to see the speed is already coming in. Just a sweep. He outruns the pursuit, gets behind a couple of guys that are blocking for him, the receivers downfield, and gets in the end zone. At this point, the will of Weber State's been snatched. And so right now that was the easy score for him.
And Thompson adds the extra point to make it 54-17. This Weber State team, though, will be tough in the Big Sky. They've got a tough date against Sacramento State next week, but Ron McBride will have them battling, and saw some flashes from the way they played at Wyoming last week. I think they've just run into a very good football team.
Yeah, this Utah State team, and I clearly remember listening. I had the game last week, like you mentioned, and then I was listening to some of the post-game talk about, that Utah State team. And I sat there, I'm like, okay, these people don't understand what type of team Utah State has, thinking that, Auburn just kind of messed up. No, clearly, Utah State is a solid team that can show up and beat somebody. Just like everybody in this conference. Fresno State has done it. Boise State has done it. Hawaii's done it. Nevada's done it. It's doable.
Right.
And so for the rest of the nation not to take any of these guys serious because we're not in the SEC or one of the major conferences, I think that's a slight knock. And you'll notice, because what happens when these things happen, they won't schedule games for a few years because they don't want to take that chance of losing.
Well, I think we've seen enough FCS teams and teams from the non-AQ, the non-automatic qualifying conferences, scare people and beat people. We've been convinced. You got to come out and bring your best game against some of these clubs. And I'm looking forward to seeing Hawaii this year as well in the Western Athletic Conference. There's one of those teams that has already beaten Colorado this year.
I'm curious. They lost a lot of talent with Salas and Pilares and Eric Green that went to Green Bay Packers as a running back. And so it'll be curious to see how that team is developed now, losing so many great pieces that they lost last year.
We understand Hawaii lost to Washington today, 40-32. Beat Colorado, lost to Washington. They will be a challenger for the WAC championship. Probably the favorite heading into the conference season. 3:01 to go in this one. And a new quarterback for Weber State, Jordan Adamczyk, the sophomore from Canyon Country, California, getting some reps here as they run the ball for 5 yards. C.J. Tuckett on the carry, 2nd and 5.
What I really love about this situation, the integrity of this defense. They took it personal that they gave up those scores, and they're making sure they shut everything down this half.
Well, it has been a dominating effort. There's a carry again by Tuckett. He's shut down as some of the second-team guys getting some work here. Parker Hausnecht, a freshman from Draper, Utah, on that play.
And if you notice, outside of the couple scores that happened in the first half, this defense is swarm tackled every time. There's at least 5 hats on the ball carrier every time they go to tackle.
Under 2 minutes to go now. 3rd down and 4 yards to go. Adamczyk, third-string quarterback last year, did not play for the Wildcats, seeing his first action as a collegian. He's going to run with it, and he'll run to the chains and has a first down. You think there's some butterflies for this kid, even though it's 54-17 late, to finally get out on the football field as a college football player.
And that's the whole thing about it. You want to get on the field. You don't play this game to go sit the bench. So any opportunity you can to get on the field, that's what you do. I'm surprised a lot of guys that are quarterbacks, whatever, that may not get on the field hadn't asked to play a different position, kickoff, punt return, something, but get me on the field.
He was redshirted his first year, did not play last year. Getting some action here as their second-string quarterback. Short gain of a yard out to the 33-yard line. As again on the carry, C.J. Tuckett, a junior from Malta, Idaho. Nick Vogt on the tackle.
Now, this is a point in time in the game, too. You got to watch it, guys. Attitudes. Don't be too chippy right now. You can see Coach Anderson is highly upset because they're not getting the substitutions in right. And he's having to use a timeout, if not get a penalty, to ensure that they got the right people on the field.
You can understand the frustration. This is an opportunity for some of these kids to see some action, some time out on the field. It's important to some of these young players that don't get meaningful time on a football field, even late in the game.
Right, but that goes to the coaches, though. As a coach, if you want a certain kid in, you have to go to him, you have to tell him when he's going in, and then you have to tell the other person.
Timeout, Utah State. 30-second timeout.
And then you have to tell the other person, as you can see he's upset about it, you got to tell the other person who he's going in for.
I think he's upset that he had to burn a timeout to get the players in that he wanted to get in. But that's one of the few things you would think he's upset with tonight.
Right.
It's been a pretty good effort.
Right, but like I said, that to me, that goes to the coach. Because the kid doesn't know when he's going in. And if you decide to throw the kid in and then there's all this commotion, it's not the kid's fault.
Spoken like a former player.
Well, but I'm just saying, that's what happens all the time because these coaches will sit up there and say at the last second, oh, you go in. And then all of a sudden,
Taylor, where are you? Taylor.
Yeah, with like 5 seconds left. I mean, you can't do that. You have to be a little bit more prepared, especially when you know no huddle action has been going on. Weber State's been doing no huddle pretty much the whole game.
Right.
So you have to be a bit more prepared. You have to tell these kids. Otherwise, they won't know. I mean, as a pro, we didn't know. So what do you expect out of some college kids?
You're tough. You are tough. But the final moments here, minute 20 to go. Utah State putting the finishing touches on the win. They're going to move to 1-1. Weber State's going to fall to 0-2, but nothing to be ashamed of as they screen it out there to Parham. It'll be a 3rd down coming up. Weber State with losses now at Wyoming and at Utah State. Now they'll venture back into Big Sky play next week, hosting Sacramento State. And that's a chance to really find out where you fit in the scheme of things in your conference.
Well, this is called the quote-unquote preseason for college football. You play, some teams that are FCS or whatever. So for Weber State, you played Wyoming tough. You played the first half of Utah State tough. Now when you go inside your conference, what exactly are you going to do?
And of course, Sacramento State, the upset win over Oregon State last week, as a short gain for the Wildcats into the hands of Kyle Shaney, a senior from Sparks, Nevada. And fourth down coming up here for Weber State.
If we gave out trophies for players of the game, mine would go to this punter. This kid has kicked an 80-yarder, a 71-yarder.
He's pinned him a couple times.
The only touchback was because the defender couldn't get there in time.
Kialamakia with the end-over-end kick this time. And it's fielded by Moats, and he's tackled immediately at the 27-yard line.
But on top of that, when they do go for a return, outside of that Kerwin's return,
right,
the coverage has been there.
Yep.
I mean, it isn't like he's out kicking his coverage. He's kicking it to where the coverage is still getting it.
Well, Ron McBride has a lot of things, obviously, he wants to address with his team, but that would be one of the bright spots,
yes,
no question, for the Wildcats. So Utah State getting a non-conference win, the mentor-pupil battle, Ron McBride against Gary Anderson. It hurts to lose. He, of course, has so much pride in his heart for Gary Anderson and what he has done, and the feelings mutual, of course, on the other side from Coach Anderson. First time they've ever met as head coaches facing against each other. The Utah player and coach and the Utah coach will shake hands in the middle of the field, and this one is in the books, 54-17. It was the Aggies' night tonight. Both teams, though, have a lot to look forward to this year. Could be breakthrough years for both programs.
I truly believe on both sides of the ball, for both of these teams, they're excited about what they possess and what they can do. Utah State had that tough loss that they gave away last week. Tough first half, but responded in the second half, playing the way that they did last week. And you got to give it up for Weber State. This first half, they gave Utah State everything they could handle, gave trickeration plays, did all the things that they needed to do to stay in the game, but just couldn't finish it in the second half. I think when both of these teams get into conference play, they're going to shock a lot of people because they're going to be up at the top.
Brighter days ahead for Coach McBride, but it was Utah State's night tonight. 635 yards total offense, 440 on the ground for Utah State. Turbin with 180 yards and a couple touchdowns, and Chucky Keaton looked good again. 166 passing, and also was effective running that offense, the true freshman from Houston, Texas. For Jay Taylor, I'm Trey Bender saying so long from Logan. The final score, 54-17 Aggies. To watch this entire game on replay, as well as other games on our family of ESPN networks, log on to watchespn.com or download the Watch ESPN app. Thanks, everybody, for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.